Good on your
Right.
side?
Yes. Good on my
Cool.
side. I think we're streaming. I think it's happening.
Awesome. Oh man, it's been a long week. How's your week been going?
It's it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. You know, just yeah, sometimes it feels overwhelming. When
Yeah.
you're trying to make big decisions and we talked about this when you're in a hyper growth place or when you're in a just like you can't control everything, especially when you have a lot of, say, big things happening. You just have to you just have to take it one day at a time, and it can feel overwhelming. And we talked about that, just kind of big stuff that happens. It's like I think both themes of what you and I are going through is like when stuff is happening, you just have to keep on. It just has to keep on happening. It's like you
Yeah.
can't really stop. So
Right.
yeah, so I feel like that's kind of what's been going on.
It's
Uh,
controlled chaos.
controlled chaos, exactly. Um,
That's what it feels like.
yeah, which I like this topic today: how to scale quickly with webinars. Well, I guess we talk about this often, but Henry, today I think you have a case study, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I have a lot of different case studies that it can be for digital products, business to business services, and things like that. I think it's more I mean, there's case studies that we can show, but I think it's what's the process to get to the result of the case study that I think that seems interesting to talk about today.
Hmm.
Because I feel like a lot of people get lost in the process of it where like I mean we talk about this a lot when someone brings us to help them with their marketing campaigns and generate leads or online sales, and they're frustrated that there's no sales generated after 30 days or 45 days. But some other people that we have good winners early on because they have a clear defined product market fit, and they're able to use that to generate more leads and sales, and they have some organic success as far as knowing what really works and what people are resonating with. um, the process to help determine what is working on the marketing side and to figure out when does it make sense to start making adjustments. That's kind of the theme, I guess, of today, of
Hmm.
really combining that of kind of an art and a science, right? When you're looking
Right.
at it from in an art standpoint, everyone wants what is the vision of the campaign and what are we trying to accomplish? What are the KPIs? How many leads are we trying to generate? How many sales do we need for this to be successful? How many people need to hit this page for us to go make improvements? And so there's all these mini wins that we've been talking about, but I would kind of like to talk more through the process of how to get to the point of a case study. Um, and I can show you examples of some of mine or yours, but that was kind of the overall theme I was thinking of.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's important, because there's a kind of a big gap. There's a gap, and that gap can be filled with, like, as you said, like, some levels of insecurity, and as you said, also, like, it's an art and a science. So
Right.
it's like, you are having to. It's almost like you're having to trust some of the numbers to give you and inform the decisions that you're making, um,
Hmm.
instead of uh, sometimes the concern around, oh, well, I'm spending this, and I'm continuing to spend. And it's like,
Right.
so it's like almost like, I don't know if this is what you were thinking, but like being able to pull the emotion out of it,
Right.
so that you can trust the numbers more, as well as, so
Right.
so when you're like spending to try to get some results, you're looking at it like you obviously need to look at it like it's not so dire. Like, it's like
Yeah.
you got to look at it like, this is a a longer commitment, and I need to be able to sort of have a thicker skin when I'm dealing with this. If I'm on the end of it and I'm trying to get my webinar funnel to work, it's a lot of people just scrap it when one little thing doesn't work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up, Rob? How's it going? So I think that's what kind of goes on, is like people, they get their emotions wrapped into things, and that can also stall their progress. And a lot of times people stall their progress on purpose because they're fearful and they can't trust
Right.
something,
Right.
when, I think you're right. I think it's like it's the art and science of being able to temper your emotion, while at the same time being able to trust some of the numbers, and
Yeah.
the art and science of being able to see what works and what doesn't, to know how to tweak and change things, such as product market fit, or messaging, or maybe the offer, or things like that, right?
Right.
So
Right. What's the risk tolerance? That's what I ask a lot of when people
mm,
are, trying to understand, well, if I want to get this set up and what does this look like? I'm like, well, what's your actual risk tolerance? How long are you, how long are you willing to work through this process to have a converting campaign, right? And that's always an interesting question, because then you watch them start thinking about it, right? But as far as um some of the ways that I like to break this down, the whole idea of creating the offer, creating the individual pages, getting the branding and the design and the flow and the customer experience, that's a process, right? That's a system that you're really putting them through. But at the end of the day, I wanted to show people what are the different ways to actually monitor that, right? And so
mm,
I'm going to pull up a dashboard here, and I posted something about this online, I think yesterday, but this will kind of give people a good indication of how to look at things. Let me see if I can zoom in here, because if I share all of it, it's just going to be overwhelming. So let me just share some of it. And
I'll
I'll
grab a
start.
little bit of it. Yeah.
I'll start. I'll go step by step, because it's actually a cool thing to watch the progress. So let me go through here. Okay. So we'll call this a webinar dashboard, right? In a high level, there's week over week management. So you want to see week over week in progress, right? So you'll see registrants are growing, and we'll break this down by registration, attendance, and conversion. It's very that those are the three parts of the whole campaign, right?
Hmm.
And so you're either going to have a registration problem, you're going to have a messaging problem, a product, what is it? What's the right term I'm looking for? A product market fit, right? In that
Hmm.
side. And then once you go live, if you have people who are signing up, then you're able to see how many of these people are actually showing up and how many of these people are buying. And so you're going to see cracks throughout the entire process. And this is why we love video, because you're understanding if someone's signing up and they're showing up, how long are they showing up? How many minutes are they watching? Or is everyone leaving at one specific point? So what I like about this is when we break down the registration numbers, how many are from ads and how many are coming from emails? And the great thing about emails is the people that are coming from ads are going to be able to be reused for all future events through email marketing. So that's
Hmm.
why you're going to see a big difference of, this 22% versus 77% of signups are coming and coming from those mediums, and that's one way to look at it, right?
Hmm.
And then we'll break it down from, if you're driving a certain amount of traffic, how many, again, how much are we spending total to get an email, and then how much does it break down per individual registrant? So that's kind of a good foundation to get a breakdown there. What do you think about this so far?
No, I like it. I mean, this is exactly the information that that a lot of times sales funnels don't really give you, because
Yeah.
you just don't have the clarity in and around what's happening during the event.
Right.
So if you scroll down, the attendance, I think, is really important. Like, first you need to fix the obviously the messaging, product market fit. They have to have enough encouragement to get to the workshop, right? If you've done
Right.
that job, you'll get the results will show in the conversion from visitor to attendee, right?
Right.
Or not visitor to attendee, but visitor to registrant, right? The
Right.
next thing to look at is obviously of those who register, does it make enough sense for them to show up to the webinar? Are you doing anything to seed the reasons for coming to the webinar? And again, that's all the above the attendance, right? So
Yeah.
the attendance you're saying is 25% of the people that register attend, right? That's what that first month is showing.
So it's
Is that
Yeah, so concurrent attendance. So we look at it from two different angles of it. How many total people have actually showed up throughout the entire event, and
Mhm.
then so these are we'll call it unique visitors, right? Unique webinar visitors
Yeah.
is 25%, and then what's the maximum number of people on at one given point? So at minute 23. I'm just making up a minute, right? But at minute
Yeah.
23, let's say, for example, 84 people were on, and that was the peak time that people were on. So people could be jumping off, they could be jumping on, they're on their phone, they have to go pick up their kids, whatever it is. But that's kind of how we differentiate the attendance numbers.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, once you get to this point, and if people are showing up, and the attendance rate is 25, 30, 40% or something like
Right.
that, or obviously these numbers are just fine because this is historically how the attendance numbers are.
Right.
That's one thing to focus on, one thing to get better. Of
Right.
course, it all stems back from what's the cost to get a registrant, and then what's your conversion. So all the numbers put together, it's all about cash in versus cash out, and really it's about how much ROI is there versus the cash in, right?
Right.
And so after you figure out how to get more people to the workshop, then it's like, now you get them to stick, right? How do you keep them sticking around?
Yeah.
And I see that's what that means. A peak attendance is what you're saying is like where they were at the height of the workshop, right?
Yep.
Um, and where in the workshop is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hmm.
And then part of like attendees at close. So like this is why this is another thing we like to monitor, because if this number is going down versus up during these events, then
Hmm.
we're not bribing them well enough to stay until the end. Like we need to have we have to give them a bribe to show up, and then we have to give them a bribe to stay, right? And so
Yep.
that's kind of why we monitor that. And then the close time is at what minute or what hour are we presenting that offer for? Are we presenting them to buy, to book a call? If it's for B2B or B2C, you're going to have different ones. And you'll notice the stick rates are not, this one is weird, right? 85% stick rate on a 2-hour webinar. Ridiculous. But
I was going to say, are those
typically
hourly? That's because those
it's
are long webinars.
it's long. It's this, I don't recommend people doing webinars this long. But the
Well, that
idea
stick
is
factor is pretty amazing.
yeah, I know.
I mean, that's attendees that close that then
And then bought
based
from
on
there. Yeah.
that's attendees that close based on the full overall attendee rate, right?
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
From
That's pretty.
from a live, right? That we didn't include follow-up and replay campaigns and stuff like that.
Right.
But
Mhm.
yeah, so that's kind of the whole idea. And again, of just looking at this from a high level of I guess I'll go back to 100% of, again, understanding what's going on and where are people falling through the cracks throughout each of these individual steps. And then that will help us figure out, okay, well, we need to focus on registration, or we need to focus on conversion. And focusing on conversion doesn't mean that it can mean a lot of things, right? It can mean that people
Mhm.
need to stay on longer. It might mean that we have to update the presentation. So when we're talking about all of the unsexy stuff that is required to make money through webinars, like this is it. Like that breakdown, that process is really how I like to look at it. And I never want to like highlight what we do kind of under the hood, but I think it's really important because people are not, or when people are doing marketing and they're trying to figure out what's actually working and not, they need to understand what's the process that's driving it home for them. And I think that's the big thing. And the more process that we can show people to actually implement into their business and not base it all off emotion, the more we're going to be able to grow and scale. That's why AI is crushing it with some things. And we've actually integrated AI into our platform already. So we can have data, like real data that for us to improve our webinar presentations and get transcripts of what people are saying
Mhm.
and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what people need to understand and see,
right, right,
and because that fundamentally that's what everything is going to be distilled down into that, and it's really great because also it's like not where you don't have to think about a million things, you just think about
right.
one thing, and that one thing is that whole process that a
Right.
webinar funnel is one thing. Now there's a
Yeah.
lot of pieces in there, but that's the part where you just shore up and clear up and get better results in all of those specific areas,
Yeah.
right? And if you could just
Totally.
focus on that one thing and continue to get better at those different areas, then you'll see more results. You'll see consistent results too. Obviously, that you obviously saw it in that webinar dashboard, right? So
Right. Right.
yeah, I think that's really what it is. I think it goes also back to that, you know, uh, being able to also, have know where your risk tolerance is, but also being able to push on your risk tolerance, I think, is also something too, um, because because it's not as risky as you may think. Although people, when they spend money, it feels risky overall. It's like
Right. Right.
spending money. Or either you spend money, you feel at risk. You lose money, you feel risky. It
Right.
really there's it's challenging because if you have too much risk aversion, then nothing's going to get done. It's like,
Right.
so you have to have a little bit of faith, and you have to be willing to put a little risk in to be able to actually be able to hit those numbers. Allow yourself to figure out those things, let the numbers speak for itself so that you pull emotion out of it, and that's the way that you ultimately gain that success. But you have to put a little faith, and you have to also do the correct work, and have a little bit of risk tolerance to be able to see those results.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's my
Mhm.
my whole theory with all this is I tell people all the time is you're gonna pay now or you're gonna pay later. You're gonna you're gonna pay
Mhm.
now and you're gonna do it right, or you'll do it wrong. You'll make a bunch of mistakes. You'll not work with the
Uh-huh.
right people or listen to, just set something up that's not gonna work. And then
Yep.
you just pay more later to go fix a problem and do the original thing that you intended to do in the first place.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
that's the
Exactly.
that's the real lesson.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys bit of advice is to pay now, do it correct. And instead of having to pay double, triple from trying to hold on to so much, because by holding on, you'll ultimately lose more. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the truth. So, yeah, let's
Well,
cut it short. I know
yeah,
we're both kind of running around, but I hope as
yeah,
far as the content breakdown, as far as process, and just to give a little bit of insight of how we look at things, how we make changes. I mean, that's one piece of many things, but that should give a good understanding of why it's important to have more of a non-emotional and more data-driven approach when we're doing it. So
exactly. Yeah.
cool.
Well, hope you
thank you
guys
so-
take that away. And again, let us know. Send us comments through any way you are watching this, and we'd love to hear from you. And if you need anything, if you if you're ready to build out a webinar and put a little risk into it, but calculated risk, highly calculated risk, reach out.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right, guys. See you later.